Now, to more news coming in, the Israeli army even showed rather displayed weapons, what it claimed to be that of the Hamas fighters that were used during an assault on villages bordering the Gaza last week. The commander of the Institute for Weapons Research even showed these weapons that have been seized at a military base in southern Israel. The displayed weapons, which include explosive devices, grenades and even rifles, which the Israeli forces claim to be that of the Hamas group, which the Hamas essentially used while they made their incursion into Israel territory. In fact, the Israeli army representative said that Hamas terrorists intended to capture and retain several villages bordering the Gaza Strip as they arrived in large vehicles loaded with food and ammunition. 20% of those weapons that were used by the Hamas group have now been seized by the Israeli Defense Forces. Listen in to this statement that's now coming from one of the representatives of the Israeli Defense Forces.
You can see in here is about approximately 20% of what Hamas terrorists brought on their vehicles. You can see different kinds of shaped charges, rockets, RPG, grenades, all kinds of stuff around here. You can see by the amount of munitions, the medical equipment and food that they brought with them that they were prepared for long term in our villages. You can see by the symbols on all the equipment that everything is homemade of Hamas, homemade production.
In fact, the IDF has now shared a new satellite image on its platform, on the platform X, which shows the lengths Hamas is willing to go in order to commit war crimes that are visible even from the outer space. That's essentially the imagery that's been shared by the Israeli Defense Forces, which shows the aftermath of Hamas assault. The first image on the left side is from October 6th, just a day prior to this attack by the Hamas group. And the second one on the right, dated 7th of October, the day when the Hamas group launched an all-out attack in the southern region of Israel. So there you see, which shows the Gaza Strip, Israel. The image dated 6th of October, beg your pardon, just a day ahead of this surprise attack that was launched by the Hamas group. And the visual, the image on the right side, which gives a glimpse of the devastation, the aftermath as a result of Hamas assault in the southern region of Israel that has claimed more than 1,300 Israeli lives. Now, reports coming in of President Joe Biden, who's likely to visit Israel in coming days. In fact, it is being said a visit which is being said to be a solidarity show by the U.S. To express the support to the Israeli government. Reports suggest that the trip of Biden, which is likely to Israel in the coming days, the details are yet to be finalized, but this is a senior U.S. official to have been quoted as saying that Biden could pay a visit to Israel in the coming days. Now, important to note here that there have been at least 5 rounds of calls that have been exchanged between President Biden and Israel Prime Minister in the last few days, with U.S. going all out to express its support, and Blinken also laying clearly the objectives of the U.S. government when it comes to the Israel-Hamas raging war. Now, note that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been visiting several of the Middle East countries. In fact, today he will be in Israel, which is going to be his second visit to Israel in the last few days. Listen in to this bite that came in from U.S. Secretary of State, who has laid out very clear objectives of the U.S. when it comes to Israel-Hamas war. The top objective of the U.S. being to address the humanitarian crisis, 1, and 2, to ensure securing of those hostages that have been held by the Hamas group.
We started, as you know, in Israel. And it was important to make it very clear that the United States has Israel's back. We will stand with it today, tomorrow, and every day. And we're doing that in word and also in deed. I spent time with Prime Minister Netanyahu to go through the needs that Israel may have to make sure it can effectively defend itself. And you've already seen a lot of that assistance moving forward. And that's a conversation that will continue. Israel has the right Indeed, it has the obligation to defend itself against these attacks from Hamas and to try to do what it can to make sure that this never happens again. As I said in Tel Aviv, as President Biden has said, the way that Israel does this matters. Needs to do it in a way that affirms the shared values that we have for human life and human dignity, taking every possible precaution to avoid harming civilians.